Hello, it's Powerflower Trains and Planes here, and we're about to embark on another Train Sim World 6 journey. Here's the intro. It's a year on since Just Trains released their fabulous Preston to Carlisle route, and whilst for me, British Rail Blue is very much my era, certainly that I grew up with, and Intercity Executive as well, I know many of you have been looking forward to a modern take on this route. Now we have a 2019 timetable produced by Naya Phase, and it's exclusively on Train Sim Community for PC users. Just like the OTS 2019 timetable for West Coast Mainline South and Birmingham Cross City, this is set in that period at the very end of Virgin West Coast. So many of the Pendolino services would have been in an all grey, ghost light livery, with the occasional one still left in Virgin flowing silk colours. But this timetable offers so much more than Pendolino services, and here is just a selection. Well, I think you can see straight away that an absolutely fabulous selection of services are available. We'll talk a bit more about it in depth as we get underway. So let us move over to the game itself. Here we are. So this is going to be a run in a Voyager. I mean, it says there Class 221 Voyager. So I think you can see straight away that it's a little bit different because we have Virgin branding. And that looks utterly magnificent. So let's get ourselves set up underway. And already got something a bit unusual coming in as well. We've got a 323 over there as well in Northern liveries. I think the runs that are set up on this are fairly short, it has to be said, but they are included. Make sure we get some headlights set up. So we'll go for day and dimmed bright, yeah, we'll say. I think, yeah, straight away you can see this stuff in and around. We've got a 150 there, and we've got a 323 parked over here as well. Going to Blackpool North. Of course, you won't be able to drive a Blackpool North one because, of course, the run to Blackpool North isn't electrified, but there it is going anyway. So we're going to wait till 14:54 before our scheduled departure time. So we will talk about what's involved with the timetable as we get going. And also when we have our first stop, we'll have a look down the train as well and just see whether we've still got the cross-country seats or not, because I know that some of the interiors have been changed for this timetable mod. So just to say, okay, it's a 221. I mean, really it's a 220, but reskinned as a 221. I think it's fair to say, because there isn't a proper 221 in the game. I remember talking about this on the stream, I think it was on Sunday when we were talking about this timetable, or was it in the Discord channel? But I think somebody said something along the lines of, but 220s weren't operated on this section of the line, even by Virgin Train. So he said, unless it's a 221, of course that is the answer. He's come up with a pseudo 221. So we are going to take this to Carlisle. So we'll be stopping at Lancaster, Oxenholme and Carlisle, so just over an hour's run or thereabouts. Let's get the doors closed. This is an Edinburgh service that we are taking over here. Distinctive noise of the Voyager as it accelerates away. Yeah, I'm going to actually show the I'm not going to use dynamic HUD because we aren't going to get a very good view of that. I don't know the speed limits well enough to do this dynamically at the moment. famous church in the background, the name of it which just escapes me off the top of the head. Now, inevitably, there has to be a little bit of a compromise with this. Here's a grey Pendolino. Of course, most of the Pendolinos at this particular time in 2019, because Virgin knew that the end of the franchise was coming up and it was going to be Avanti West Coast fairly early on, so they, in preparation for that, essentially the Pendolinos were kind of decked out in a non-distinct, that ghost-like grey livery, and there was just the odd one still running around with the flowing silt livery, which was the kind of the latest of the Virgin colours. I think I'm right in saying this is a Virgin West Coast service as well, going to Glasgow, as opposed to a cross-country service, hence it being in Virgin livery. We are going quite steeply uphill, so it takes a little bit of acceleration. First stop is Lancaster in about 19 miles. So the compromise is that, of course, particularly when you're driving the Pendolino, there would be many places where you would have the enhanced speed limit of 125 miles an hour, and that just isn't doable at the moment. I think the modders have looked at that, and who knows what might come in the future, but for the moment we are restricted down to 110. So I think the timetables are often a little bit challenging, but apparently virtually doable. You get a good view of the line as well in the Voyager as well. It's quite a good cab view, I think. So this mod is just available for PC users, and it can't be done for consoles, unfortunately, but if you've got a PC, then it's well worth getting. And this is the details on the Trainsim community website, where it's okay, I'm just conscious that we're getting slightly downhill, so I need to keep an eye on the speed limit a little bit. But it says, hello all, I am proud to present my modern 2019 timetable for the Preston to Carlisle route. And this is by Naya Faze, incidentally. So this is his words. And he says, this adds a new timetable with 1,363 total services. 386 of those are playable. And there's already a kind of a version 1.1, because I think there was 1 or 2 issues with the initial installation. This was yesterday. So there are 58 for the Class 390, 10 for the 221, of course this is one of them, 43 for the Class 350, 45 for the Class 158, 69 for the 142, 6 for the 150, 2 for the 153, 8 for the 323, 13 for the Class 86 Freightliner. Now I've got to have a little check on that, because when I've checked through excuse me, I don't seem to have the Freightliner 86 installed, so that's definitely something I've got to work on. It's something I haven't quite got installed right. 1 for the Class 87 Freightliner. This will become a Class 90 service. The 86 ones as well are going to be essentially Class 90 Freightliners as well when it's released. 2 for the Class 86 Caledonian Sleeper, 1 for the Class 87 Caledonian Sleeper. And we saw a little bit of that in the intro. That looks really good, and it's good to see the Mark IIIs decked out in the Caledonian Sleeper livery, that purple that existed at the time. I mean, what would really make it is if we had a proper Mark III sleeper pack. You know, I was just noticing the neutral section indicator there, but of course we're driving a diesel, so we needn't worry about that. So they're just normal Mark III carriages that have been re-liveried, so no sort of narrow windows that you get for the booths, which is a shame. I think I'm right in saying that I think one of the modders, I don't know if it was Forks with the West Coast Mainline timetable, but I'm sure somebody asked about modding the Mark IIIs, and I don't believe there was a willingness officially for that to be done at the moment. So you kind of hope and wonder, does that mean at some point we're going to get a proper sleeper pack, which would be actually brilliant for both the West Coast Main Line in all its various sections now, and also out of Paddington and Exeter to Plymouth, and St Austell to Penzance as well. That would be fantastic, but that's pure speculation. There's 1 for the Class 47 Colas Rail Freight, 57 for the 66 in various liveries and distances, it has to be said. 1 for the Class 314 was going to be planned as a 37 drag, but issues arise with the couple of mod. 2 for the Class 08, 8 for the Class 37 DRS, 1 for the Class 37 British Rail large logo, so you're looking at rail tour runs there. 13 for the 47, these will be the WCRC 47s when Bal has released his pack. 4 for the Class 86259, which is Les Ross on one side, Peter Pan on the other. 10 for the LMS 8F, 6 for the LMS Jubilee. So there is a heck of a lot to get involved with. We're about, what are we, 8 miles to Lancaster, and for some reason it's defaulted to June when I've loaded this up, but I'm not complaining. I've not changed the date because June feels like a brilliant time to be wandering through this beautiful part of the country as we kind of head towards Cumbria and the Lake District and the not too distant future in this journey. I think I'm right in saying that originally the 221s, because these were the Super Voyager, were built with tilt, but then I think the tilt kind of, it was felt wasn't used all that much, so at some point in their lives I think they had the tilt ability removed. So I'm not 100% sure if this would be a genuinely 110 mile an hour or whether it would be 125 in some places, this particular service. Does seem to be quite bouncy, it has to be said. I don't know whether the suspension is particularly optimized for this particular train. course, the 350 runs, incidentally, are for the Transpennine services, which, of course, were 350s at one time. And like I said in the intro, you know, I absolutely love the original timetable that was created, and British Rail Blue is very much my sort of era, but this is just, again, adding something different, and I think a lot of people wanted to see a modern version and a modern timetable of this route. This certainly fits into that category. And again, you know, just to, you can't underestimate the work that's got into this, and I'm sure it's involved hours and hours and hours and hours of messing about with the editor to get this to work in some shape. I mean, to be fair, I probably could have actually done certainly the first stage to Lancaster without any great thought, because the moment you get the first flashing double yellow, you know that you're on the run up to Lancaster, and it's kind of the indication that you've got that 75, and ultimately just before the platforms at Lancaster we go right down to 15. And if we were running straight through on the main line, we wouldn't actually even get the 75 for very long, because it goes back up to 95, as you can see very shortly after. I think we need to get some speed down to try and get down to the 15 in time. It's a tough one to get just right, this 15, because occasionally I think I've managed it just about right, but you sort of end up usually either racing into Lancaster and you've got nowhere near the 15, or the alternative is crawling at 15 for far too long. I think it's not too far off.
We are now approaching Lancaster. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform, and take care when stepping down from the train.
And of course, because the Voyager came with announcements in the game originally, then we do get announcements. It seems as though it's slightly limited. I don't think we'll actually get an announcement telling us the ongoing stations, but at least we've got some announcements. And again, it's slightly brutal, the speed limit into Lancaster, because not only do you get the 14, but you're on a downhill gradient as well, so it's kind of constantly trying to persuade you to go over the speed limit. Which again for me is just shows, you know, the depth of route learning. You've not only got to know exactly where your speed limits are, but you've got to know whether you're going downhill or uphill automatically as well, and I guess it becomes just second nature and you would do it without thinking about it. go, that should do us, I think. Wonder if it'll... I'm not very anxious to alter the throttle because it's a bit buggy, isn't it, on this Voyager, but... Yeah, I just wondered whether it was like Virgin or whether it was cross-country still. That to me looks as though it's different, surely, isn't it? Isn't that the Virgin branding? I'm not totally sure. I know certainly in some of the northern trains we're getting blue as opposed to what was in it originally. Right, so we can go. Yeah, I was quite excited about this pack when I only first heard it announced a couple of weeks ago. I love these little surprises, and again, in between kind of the official stuff that's coming out from DTG and the game, then it really does enhance a cold winter's night. Just something to really get your teeth into. Crossing over the river, I think it's the River Loon. Right, now we can get some speed up. Oh, we've got a pacer waiting there. Of course, that is something that we will have a look at when we do a full in-depth look at this route. Definitely do a pacer run between Lancaster and Morecambe, and there's also Carnforth services as well, with the 150 and the 153, and we've got the 158s included as well. So again, going back to the description, he says, I've tried to use the month range feature to its best potential, so instead of having the same rail tours all year round and RHTT services in October to December, we now have a lot more variety. There is one unique rail tour for each month of the year, January to September. October to December will be added at a later date. Class 314 scrap runs can be found in August. RHTT in October to December, and Alaniar Tyne Valley diverts as well. You can reference the manual to check when your service is due to be ran, or alternatively the service description will have it as well. The manual is useful as it will tell you what month things can be spotted without flicking through all the services in the menu. So we've already said who's done this wonderful timetable mod, but he's also put some credits in as well. Bell for providing the WCRC rolling stock and advice on reskins, although I think the 47 one isn't available yet. He's also done some testing. Isaac, Avila, Train Fan and SR. You can find this legend on Creators Club. He provided the Creators Club skins using the 150, 350 and the white 158. I think when he says white 158 he means there's more than one version of Northern livery, isn't there? Tom Hill, you can find this legend on Creators Club. He provided the skins for the 221, so this particular train that we're driving, and the LNER HSD. Cody 1931, another Creators Club man. He has provided the skins of the 86 and 87 Freightliner and the Caledonian Sleeper. OTS Josh, of course a friend of the channel. Valuable second opinion and testing. Will's Workshop provided the 37 large logo skins and testing. Need to get a bit of speed up here actually, don't we? Spratty Heath providing the Class 66 Mega Pack. Rob S provided the branded FCA and FKA containers testing. Diamond provided the 86 259 and testing. Laker testing. Tom Harrison, of course, of Train Sim TV and Just Trains, of course, provided 86 259 and testing. Sorry, no, that was Diamond, wasn't it? Tom Harrison was testing a promotional stream. He says he'll respond to bug fixes as quickly as he can. Which, of course, there's bound to be some bug fixes. It's difficult for this to be perfect. Planned updates will be to include the Class 90, upgrade the 142 to the modern version, finish the last 3 rail tours, maybe some ideas needed, and add some test trains. Yeah, I've got to work out why me Freightliner 86s aren't showing up. That's no doubt user error on my part. You know, a little weird phenomenon there with OBS Studio, but flicking from one screen to the other, and it seems to get a black screen momentarily. I never used to get there. I don't know why that happens now. But any suggestions, let me know. We're going to be a bit late anyway. I don't think I've helped by sort of dawdling slightly. I mean, I've been talking over the installation and all the bits and pieces in the manual, and or at least on the Train Sim community page, and I've been neglected to keep some decent speed up. Just shows, doesn't it? I mean, we've not got no tilt on this thing, but the track around these corners is rather canted. That was a Transpennine Express 350. great thing about driving this actually in June is it just shows off what a beautiful route it is. And this isn't even the most scenic part, because once we get to Oxenholme and beyond, then the section particularly up to Penrith is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I think one section that does get slightly ignored a little bit, but we do have West Coast Main Line North in Train Sim Classic, but we don't have it in Train Sim World. And I think Just Trains were asked about that because it was kind of a logical possibility that they might extend the route north, but although they obviously have only fairly recently confirmed that they are doing Crewe Preston, but I think they were keen a long time ago to rule out Carlisle to Glasgow. I mean, it's certainly a long stretch once you get past Carlisle. I mean, you get Lockerbie, but then there's basically nothing until Carstairs, which is the kind of basically the outskirts of Glasgow, really, of the Glasgow suburbs. So I think the icing on the cake with this timetable mod would be if somebody could find a way around being able to have the enhanced speed limits, and we could kind of do the Pendolinos in particular at 125. But I've no idea whether that's possible. There's obviously some changes to the route in real life as well between Preston and Carlisle, but I wouldn't have thought absolutely massively. And just to say thank you very much for watching as ever, and hope you're enjoying the video. And if you haven't watched one of my videos before, or you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, then I'd be greatly honoured if you consider doing so. And again, as I always say, thank you very much to everybody that has already done that, and your support massively appreciated. And we do a live stream on Sunday, 5 o'clock. We usually do at least 4 hours of services. I think we made it 5 on Sunday, but that was a rare event because I hadn't got to go to work on the Monday. But usually it's 4 hours. So if you get the chance one Sunday evening and you're at a loose end, then by all means join in, and you can have a chat and we talk all things train sim. And we also like to do kind of a light-hearted competition where basically if you want to take part in the runs as well at the same time, then always good to do. And I've put up in recent weeks a little leaderboard, and not to a massive surprise on my part, I've realised that more often than not I tend to fall down in the ratings a little bit. So we're kind of coming towards Oxenholme. This is the edge of the Lake District, and of course you could connect here for a train to Windermere. I think I'm right in saying actually all the track to Windermere is actually included, but I think development time wise they just didn't have the time to put all that in, and I think that it was kind of, I think it boiled down to really a choice between putting all that in the branch line to Windermere, which is basically just a single track line, or really filling out Carlisle Kingsmore Yard, and I think Carlisle Kingsmore Yard won the battle. Been a bit too slow here, aren't I? Because we're over 100 yards away, and I'm crawling up as though I'm stopping in the middle of the platform. That should do us. I think I spied a Windermere train as well as the Pendolino coming through. I think I spied a Windermere train as well, and that is of course a 158. It says not in service at the moment, so waiting its turn. We've still got some passengers on board. Maybe they've got an early advance warning that this service is going. Doesn't seem to be too many standing passengers on this service anyway, just the, so I think we're non-stop to Carlisle now. We are on quite a climb as well. Of course, we do have Shap to negotiate on routes. We've also got the Loom Gorge coming up as well, the T-Bay, beautiful part of the route. So what do you actually need? Dependencies. Well, you do need to download the OTS West Coast Mainline South 2019 timetable. I mean, that's worth doing in its own right anyway, and if you've got the PC and you've got the dependencies, it's worth doing, but that's required for the Pendolinos in those liveries. You'll need Spratty Heath's Class 66 Mega Pack, the RHTT mod required for the functionality of the RHTT, as the Class 20 lacks the RHTT controllers. You can use this to activate the washers and sandite externally. UK Intermodal Container Branding Patches TSW6 Tanktainer Edition. I wonder if it's that means I'm missing these Freightliner runs. I'll have to have a check. Do not install the cargo line branding pack. This causes a crash. The branded FCA will work without it. And you also need something for the Czech train sim community website, required to complete services which start and or end outside of the default plane area. So I know there was one or two people commenting about bugs and issues yesterday, but it's kind of inevitable with a first release in many ways. And I don't think anybody would wish to complain as well, because this has all been done for free. You know, as long as you have the DLC. The great thing as well about these kind of timetable mods, it seems as though, as far as I can gather anyway, they seem to have a way of allocating the liveries to particular services, so you don't get this situation where it just pops up randomly all over the place. It's very, very scheduled. I'm going to switch the camera around a little bit at this point, because the scenery from here on just gets just absolutely amazing. I mean, I think when you get to you can see how bendy this section of the West Coast Main Line really is, and I think it's exactly for this reason why, certainly in the 70s, as the engineers were developing the idea of the tilting train, the advanced passenger train being the first train to do that, you could kind of understand why they had the idea. I mean, in France it was a bit different. I mean, similar timing, but they developed the TGV, Le Train Grande Vitesse, but their solution to the problem was, let's build a train and dedicated tracks for it. So basically the tracks tilted, and I know to an extent as we are going along here we do get some cant, but not the amount that you would get on the way a Pendolino tilts. So in France you've got these dedicated lines where the track itself tilts. But British Rail, of course, being under the slightly less than enthusiastic governments at times, were encouraged to find ways that weren't going to cost endless money, and the idea of building dedicated lines was completely out of the question. Of course, that's the M6. Very, very photographed section of the line this is at T-Bay. Get the speed up a bit more here. now we're getting downhill, so I've got to get at least a little bit of thoughts on braking. I think this is the famous Loon Gorge. Right, now we're back up to 100 miles an hour. It just gets better and better, the view, doesn't it? It's just stunning, isn't it? There's no other words for it. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful scenery. And again, I'm sure I've said it on the other videos, but such a contrast. You think of coming out of London Euston and going through Camden and going towards Wembley, and you kind of think, but this is the same line. It's just nothing in comparison. So now we're up to 105. So I think those sidings we passed there, that was the start of... Do you know, I get mixed up now whether we've actually just gone through Shap or whether this is the start or not. I know that once we're completely over Shap, we're basically downhill all the way to Carlisle. But I think this is the start of the climb. There's a lot of the quarries as well and freight yards. And again, there's kind of additional use included with these scenarios. I've not actually had a go on those either in the British Rail Blue version of the route or this modern timetable. But yeah, I was talking about a live stream earlier, so the plan will be on the Sunday. That's if you happen to be watching this on the week that it's released, this video, then the plan on the Sunday would to have quite a deep dive into the timetable, and we'll have a real exploration of what's involved. Yeah, this is where it kind of levels out now. This is, I want to say this is Hardendale. Again, there's all sorts of sidings involved there, and again they've beautifully represented the freight facilities in and around here. Yes, I think this is, that's it now. We're descending now. I think we're basically more or less downhill all the way to Glasgow. Again, in amongst the beautiful scenery, industry. We are going to be a bit behind schedule. But it's not very easy to get a great handle on keeping speed accurately. Seems strange for a modern train that they didn't have a speed control on it. I have driven some really good Creators Club runs on this route before, and I've put a couple of them up on the channel, but again this is just something different. And I mean, to have such a vast array of services to go at in terms of the timetable, then it's just wonderful. Is that the M6 again? I assume so. I think it's kind of the M6 as far as Carlisle, and contrary to popular belief, I say popular belief, but I suspect if you asked a certain section of the English population anyway, they wouldn't be sure whether Carlisle was in England or Scotland, but it's very much in England, but it's not too far away from the Scottish border. I mean, it's not even out yet, Crew to Preston, but obviously it'll fit quite nicely with, again, being able to join effectively being able to do consecutive runs. It would be lovely to have a 2019 timetable for Crew Preston, but let's not get ahead of ourselves too much because Crew Preston's not even out yet. We are getting to that point now in the development of the game where fairly extensive runs are more and more possible. And I do like the Just Trains model. I mean, I know I've seen on the forums one or two people have kind of said, please Just Trains not their next route, please let it not involve Preston, but I like the continuity, and it's something that has been lacking a lot in terms of route development from DTG and the third parties. I mean, it seems as though basically DTG don't seem to be producing their own content anymore. And again, you know, I don't always know. I haven't listened to every second of every recording of every interview, but I think I remember reading somewhere somebody suggesting that there's a little mini freight train as well. That wasn't a nuclear flask one though, was it? But again, it was kind of sandwiched between a couple of locos, 37 and a 66. Quite sure what the load was there, but yeah, I'm sure somebody was commenting that All Aboard Studios kind of want to move away from the West Coast Main Line for their next route, but we shall see. We are in the middle as well. We've been wondering for a week or two. We now know there's no December roadmap stream from Dovetail Games, which is kind of what we're expecting, but they decided this year, rather than having a kind of a daily season of reveals, then they're doing it in 3 weekly steps. Now maybe that's just because they haven't got as much to announce this time. Kind of hoping we're going to get a UK route announcement as well, because that feels as though once Crew Preston is out, I'm speeding here, should be 75 in this section. Kind of hoping the Stratford, well, we've already got Stratford to Willesden Junction, but the section between Richmond and Willesden Junction, hopefully, well, we know it's coming. I don't know how long away it'll be. We know the 805 is coming out, packed for both West Coast Main Line South and a 2025 timetable, or thereabouts anyway, for Birmingham Crew. Here's Penrith. So therein ends the Lake District. So we've got a 110 speed limit coming up. Now, obviously, one thing they haven't changed, or I don't know whether they haven't been able to change, but it does say here that it's a 220. And again, I've not tried all the other packs yet, but presumably you get announcements in the 350. You won't get them in the Pendolino at the moment. Been going downhill for ages, and then suddenly you get the 110 speed limit comes up, and then we have an uphill stretch. And even with a powerful train like the Voyager, I'd say it's exactly struggling. But now it's downhill though, so we're gaining speed a lot faster. And as I'm recording this, it's been downloaded well over 750 times anyway, so I'm sure that number will go up drastically. And the fact remains that you have to be kind of sort of my age, really. I mean, I'm in my 50s, but in your 40s at a push to go back to British Rail Blue in the 80s. So for most viewers, they will be more have memories of the more recent eras, so I kind of understand that. I know that hopefully some of the younger viewers will have and develop an interest in some of the older trains and exactly what they were like. I mean, I suppose for some that you might consider this timetable's a slight relic in terms of the age anyway. 2019 seems to be a very popular period to be producing timetables. Generally the consensus is that kind of pre-COVID, because 2020 was the COVID year, then that was when timetables were at their optimum, and then they were kind of downgrading for a few years afterwards, and arguably only just recovering now. Still very, very pretty in this part of the line as well. Very much farmland, but not quite as breathtaking as the sights as you go through the Lake District. And even technically speaking, I suppose you're kind of on the edge of the Lake District, but it really is a gorgeous part of the world. Go. Another Pendolino racing by. don't know whether we will have, probably won't have made any time up. I know when we've talked to Rachel in the chat, our retired ex-train driver, and she's said that in reality, certainly back in the day, I'm not sure it would be allowed nowadays, and probably the technology on board the train kind of prevents it a little bit, but back in the day it wouldn't be uncommon if you were kind of running a bit late to go say 5 mile an hour over the speed limit a little bit and try and make up a little bit of time. And I would suggest they were probably encouraged to do that, and I can't imagine there'd be any passenger out there who would say that was a bad idea. I know there's one or two of you who've been asking for officially for the 221 to be in the game, and my own personal feeling is, that would be nice, that would be good, but it's not top of my list. Kind of like something, slight bit of variation, and for me having at least one version of the Voyager in the game's enough for me. I guess one reason why it could happen, though, is that I wouldn't have thought it would need a huge makeover to produce. The wheels are a bit different size, aren't they? Somebody was commenting, but I've never even noticed until it was mentioned. The wheels on these things are tiny, aren't they? It's almost as though there's a bit missing. And I think you get trains coming in as well off the Settle and Carlisle line. Of course, that's not in the game. Again, very pretty, and there's been a little bit of a clamour for that to be included in the game, but in terms of playability, I mean, there's lots of rail tour opportunities and possibilities with things like the steam stuff as well, and diverts, I suppose, over the years, but it's still a fairly basic timetable, and if you're going to do it in British Rail Blue era, then it was being really run down by British Rail, because they were at one stage trying to get the line closed, but there was a huge campaign, and it remained open in the end, and not for the first time it was found that their estimates of repairing or bringing the Ribblesdale viaduct into, is it Ribblesdale? I'm getting my brain mixed up. When it was properly costed, and it was British Rail doing the costings, then it was realised it would cost a lot less than was anticipated. But amazing to think that they were really hoping to get away with closing the line entirely, and it was kind of the old adage of, let's provide a very basic service that's reasonably inconvenient, and then use an excuse along the lines of, well, nobody's using it, so we can close the line. Kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now we better get some brakes on, I think. Well, we can see the signals mapped out, so we are definitely routed through onto the platforms. That's a welcoming sound, isn't it? I love the old clickety-clack sound. You don't hear it very often on this non-continuously welded railway.
We are now approaching Carlisle. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform, and take care when stepping down from the train.
Can't be wrong. Where on earth do they get these ideas from? Love it. Oh, I'm speeding again. And again, one of the great stations, Carlisle Citadel. Maybe not up there with, say, York or one of the great London terminuses or Glasgow Central, but it's a very interesting station. Not dissimilar in design, I've always felt, to my local station, which is Stoke-on-Trent, but on a bigger scale. We can see a 158 working there. I think that's on a settle working. Of course, the reality is they didn't go to settle. It's kind of a bit of a misnomer. In reality, they would go to Skipton or Leeds. A ScotRail 158 there as well. Again, we haven't really had that much chance to take the camera down and have a proper look at the livery, but you can see the badge on the front and the logo and everything else very, very nicely done. We've got a Pendolino coming in as well at the very end. So very, very busy timetable, and I'm sure, like myself, if you're on the PC and you download it, you're going to get many, many hours of fun on this. So thank you very much to Naya Faze. He's done a wonderful job with this 2019 Preston to Carlisle timetable, and really, really enjoyed that. And as I say, we'll have a proper look at it as we're, in terms of you watching this video before or sort of on the same week as it's come out, then the live stream on the Sunday at 5 o'clock will feature definitely in depth the Preston Carlisle timetable. So hope you can join us for that. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, you've not done it already, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd be tremendously grateful if you would consider that. But for now, until next time, from Power Flower Trains and Planes, it is goodbye.